Hi, this is Laurie Owens, and you're watching the Best Practices Show.
Hey guys, thanks for watching the Best Practices Show. We take a look at the best business practices from the best dental practices all over. And if you're growing a fee-for-service practice, one of the opportunities you do not want to miss is on this great advantage called medical billing. And I've got one of the world's experts today, Laurie Owens. You do not want to miss this. And we're going to be talking about the triggers and why you would want to learn a lot about this and incorporate it in your practice. And it's going to blow your mind. This is a very important topic and a huge advantage for you, your patients, and the health of your patients long term. So don't miss this. Grab a pen and hit the share button. Now, a couple show notes. We are shooting this live on Facebook like we always do. And so if you have questions while Laurie is on the show and you're watching it live, just add them to the feed and I'll ask Laurie directly. Or if you're watching them later on, continue to add questions to the feed and you'll see Laurie's really good at social media. We want you guys to get the most out of this when you're watching these shows. On top of it, I hear feedback all the time that the dentist watches them, but the team members don't. What a great opportunity. Share these with your team and say, hey, look, I'm thinking about going in this direction, or this is one of those things we have to do, and your team members will love it. Keep sending us suggestions for shows, all your shares, everything. We love it. Up over 39,000 followers on Facebook. Over 150,000 of you have visited us on iTunes. And I don't even know what to say other than thank you. So, Laurie, 202 shows. This is our 202nd today. And you've been a regular guest in our show. And we're so grateful because you're presenting an incredible opportunity for dentists here in the future that I really didn't quite understand before I started to get to know you. But I know who you are. Many of our listeners know who you are. If somebody's watching this for the first time, who is Laurie Owens? And give us a little perspective on your story.
Absolutely. So I'm Laurie Owens. I am the Director of Medical Billing Education for Imagine Solutions and also worked for Dr. Cohen and Gottlieb for 15 years as their medical biller. And I still do medical billing. Even though I teach a lot, I still want to be in the mix and doing the actual billing side of it so I can make sure I know how it facilitates with the medical insurances on a daily basis.
That's awesome. This is a big opportunity. And can we start? We're going to get into the triggers, but let's talk about why this is such a big opportunity. And there's still so many fee-for-service dentists that just don't know about that. They think medical insurance, they instantly, this is what they say to me, they instantly put it in a bucket that's worse than dental insurance. Do you know what I mean? Like they just throw it out, but it's not that. Would you agree?
It's not that. And what is amazing to me is a lot of people, I'll mention something, say for instance, bone grafts. The first thing they'll say, they're not covered by dental. And my first action is, why do you think that is? Because it's a medical procedure. So of course it's not going to be covered, but think about what you could be doing. You're not doing a bone graft for fun. You're doing to facilitate the atrophy in the space. Medical understands that. Why can't our dentists understand that as well?
Right.
Once I pose it, then they figure it out.
Right. And we're not asking you to accept it as full payment or anything like that. What you've taught me before is that if you can tell the story clearly with codes, that is causal in nature, medical insurance has to pay for it. They have to. And
the only exception is going to be, so there is an exception to that. So I want to make sure they know there are plans that can exclude those specific codes. They're limited. There's not too many of them. So I don't want everyone to think that automatically it's a have-to covered procedure because there are exclusions. And so we want to make sure that when you call them, you say, is this an excluded or considered code, to make sure you're not spinning your wheels for nothing.
Right. And the point is you've got to constantly stay educated in this ever elusive and complex game, right?
Exactly.
It's very
and once you figure out the insurance companies you work with, that variation doesn't go too far. Right. So once you figure out, I would say most dentists work with about 10 medical insurances that they have to deal with. That's not too many to figure out what their trend is and how they pay.
Right. Now, here's an additional reason why I want you to listen to Laurie if you're watching this. You have been able to, especially in Dr. Cohen and Dr. Gottlieb's office, you've been able to advocate for patients, and even some young patients get significant dollars for them to get their optimal dentistry done in cases where they didn't even have dental insurance. And it was the full fee of the dentist in some cases.
Correct.
Is that correct in saying that?
That is absolutely correct. All on 4 cases with working with TRICARE. Most people, you say TRICARE and they freak out. Mm-hmm. But to me, it's a challenge because these people need help. And who else is going to advocate for them if we don't help this kid? And you're talking about an 18-year-old kid. That's huge. She has the whole rest of her life ahead of her. So, of course, I'm going to fight for her, especially because my doctor feels that it's absolutely necessary. That's all the backing I need.
Yeah, this is fantastic. If you're not paying attention to this, you're just missing an incredible opportunity. Yes. And we have so many of our practices that work with you, and they just love the little tweaks and insight you give. They're learning all the time, as I am. Yeah. So today we're going to be talking about the triggers that you should consider medical billing for dentistry. Now, I want you to tell the story and how you came up with this title, because it's I thought it was fascinating.
So we just did a course in Palm Springs, and we do 2-day courses. The first day is a lot of background information on the whys and what to look for. But a couple of students asked me one thing. They said, what would trigger you to bill that to medical? And I thought, trigger, that's a good word. What would trigger somebody to consider medical billing for dentistry? So that's how I derived that. Believe it or not, it was just this last Saturday. So our second day of course, we say, what do you need for your practice? So we can make sure that second day is very applicable to their specific practice needs. And so that was one of the questions. Somebody said, we need to know what triggers us to look at the medical side of it. So Absolutely. That's how the 5 triggers came about.
Yeah, and you gave me all 5. I always love your handouts because they're super clean. I'm like, ooh, that's good. That's good. So you're going to take us through this. So take us through the first trigger on why we would want to consider medical billing.
The first trigger I want people to consider, if your practice does surgical procedures or diagnostic procedures like bone grafts, sinus, all on 4s especially. I tell people nobody loses all of their teeth for no reason. There's going to be a cause. Osseous, surgical extractions for trauma and cancer patients, those are absolutely covered for those specific causes. You've got CBCT images, oral cancer screening utilizing the Velscope or the Visalite or some kind of tool like that. Also sleep, TMD, and apnea appliances. People think, oh, it's TMD, it's not covered. Well, that's joint related, that's medical. So a lot of the times we don't realize that the reason why dental insurance doesn't cover it is because it's absolutely a medical procedure. And more often people are getting their dental EOBs back for surgical extraction saying, this isn't part of your dental, send this over to your medical. So those are huge things as to why. Just to let you know, the Greater New York event on November 27th, we have with Henry Schein and 3Shape, we're doing a 4-hour session on the future of dentistry with a digital workflow regarding medical billing. Mm-hmm. So if you're in the Greater New York area, look up that course and ask to come to attend it. Gives you a great insight on how this can interface with what you're already doing.
Yeah, and you and I were talking before we went on here. You said the critical piece that's missing is education for the team, because there are dentists that know about this. This is not something brand new, but the missing gap is always, how do I get the people around me, and grow them so they understand it too, and they can start to be advocates for the patients.
Well, and I found that once we get everybody on the same page, the doctor's really already there because they're clinically minded. They are already thinking this is causing something else. And so what we have to do is not get the team afraid of it. Once we get the team to say, hey, I could do that, or hey, let's hygiene and admin work together and then we can be able to get great diagnosis and great notes. So that way, I tell our courses, you don't have to write dental and write medical. Write medical, dental understands it. So if you already get into the medical mind, you don't have to change your notes because you're billing dental insurance. It can be the same notes, it's just in a different phraseology. That's the only difference. But dental understands the medical phraseology.
Yeah, not only a phraseology, but you have a system. I have all of your cards that you give me, and you've got an airtight system, which is the thing that I need the crayon version, which is go here, then here, then here, and it's beautiful. So if I can figure it out, you bet you guys can figure it out too. So take us into trigger number 2.
Okay, so trigger number 2. Your patient doesn't have dental insurance. So the benefits aren't going to cover all those things that we talked about, the surgeries, the procedures, the extractions, the CBCT images, all of the things that you need to do for your patient. They don't have that. Whereas if they don't have dental, guess where they're probably lying? All of those benefits are probably lying in their medical insurance, in which the reason that we're not accessing them is it's scary. So we say, well, I don't want to do that because then I feel like I'm opening a can of worms. And it's actually the opposite. You're opening a can of what could be a huge blessing for your patient and what could be a huge windfall for your practice. Yeah. So most people don't realize that, yes, you have deductibles. You're going to have a deductible. Not every person that you see has a $5,000 out-of-network deductible. Right. I saw one that had a $600 out-of-network deductible. That's easy to meet in the procedures that we do today. One thing I did research was in 1954. Do you know that an extraction was $6?
I didn't know that.
A cleaning was $12.
Wow.
Do you know that how much they had annually to spend? $1,000.
$1,000, yeah.
And
it always comes back to them.
Still have $1,000, but I don't think our fees are the same.
No. Yeah. And I know people that still have prophy fees that low. So,
oh gracious!
Now wait a minute, you're blowing my mind with number 2 because think about this. This is a huge opportunity for patients that do not have dental insurance benefits. So let's have a little fun. Watch this. Siri, how many people are in the United States? So Siri's gonna, I don't know. Let's find out how much.
The population of the United States in 2017 was about 324 million people.
Okay, 324 million people, according to Siri. Now, you've heard this before. How many people have dental insurance? Or wait, half of the public goes through. So 324 million. Mm-hmm. So that's I'm terrible at math. So that would be 170.
186.
Yeah, something like so you're talking about 186 million people don't even go to the dentist. Mm-hmm. And then of those people that do go to the dentist, only what? I'm going to screw this up.
About half of them have. Yeah.
So you're
about only half.
Yeah. So I don't know if we're missing 180 million people. Like you're missing a segment of the marketplace. People that don't go to the dentist and don't have insurance. This is an incredible opportunity because I'm going to ask you the question that I ask even membership guys on this is, do you know the number one reason people go to the dentist in the United States?
Because they have insurance.
They perceive they have some benefit of some kind that will pay for something. What an incredible opportunity that what you're talking about. Now, if they don't have dental insurance or they don't go to the dentist, you can position this as a great opportunity for patients that don't have insurance. And also, too, you're removing all the ceilings from this. I mean, you're not going to be talking about, maximums or anything like that.
Right.
You're going to be
frequencies.
Or frequencies. This is beautiful.
Right. So one of the things Dr. Gottlieb always loved and always had his patients do, anybody with Alzheimer's, MS, Parkinson's, he had them in for perio maintenance once a month. And there was a reason, because that buildup of bacteria can hinder their disease. And so it was genius, and we saw remarkable longevity of control of the disease. But not to mention, we build it as medical, as a preventative measure.
Right. Now think about this. This is a triple win. The patient wins because they get healthier. The patient wins because The medical insurance pays for it.
Mm-hmm.
The doctor wins because I don't know what just happened there. And the triple win, I don't know why it's, hold on one second. I hit a button here. The third win is the doctor gets paid full fee.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? So now
Yes.
it's great all the way around. So that's fantastic.
It is. And it's an amazing health issue that people just think, oh, well, I can't go once a month. But most people in nursing homes, what is the number one cause of death in a nursing home?
I don't know.
Pneumonia.
Is it really? Mm.
And it's because they aspirate the bacteria under their gum line. So if we can get rid of the bacteria under the gum line, we are helping the people that are in a nursing home live longer.
It's crazy. That is awesome. Awesome. All right, give us trigger number 3.
Okay, so we talked about the benefits. Now, what about children 19 and under? Children 19 and under that don't have dental have a whole bunch of medical benefits under their medical plan, including ortho, root canals, crowns, fillings, exams, x-rays. I could go on and on. They have tons of benefits underneath their medical, especially if they have no dental insurance. So that's a law. So you're talking ages 20, under 20. So that includes all of their 19th year. I've actually seen, and I have a copy, it actually provides for implants. Not all benefits are, but some of the better policies that are employer related will have implants as a covered benefit for kids 19 and under.
That's fantastic. And you've offered, you mentioned before,
yes.
You actually have the literal break. I'd actually like to see that. They can email you directly.
Yes. And I'll email you when we get off. And I'll send it
sounds
to
good. Because a lot of times, even conceptually, it's very, you can grasp it, but once you see it in the breakdown, you're like, oh my goodness, that makes so much sense.
It's huge.
And every dentist watching has had patients in this particular scenario. So thank you for that gift. Awesome. Trigger number 4, what is it?
So is that, not all patients are going to have insurance, which we already talked about. So what about medications? Mm-hmm. Almost all of our patients are taking medications. Some are taking so many that you have to copy the list. So tell me, what is that doing to their oral cavity? So Kurt, you don't know, you know me, but you don't know that I am sick, do you? Because looking at me, you would never guess that I have Graves' disease.
Never knew that.
You would never know that. But it's because so that I say that to say your patients, just by how they look, might not be exactly how they are.
Right.
So within that, my Graves' disease has caused me to lose my thyroid. And I take an overabundance amount of levothyroxine just to be able to live. So 375 milligrams a day. So think about, what do you think that causes to my oral cavity?
Dry mouth.
Absolutely.
Now, I would imagine every dentist watching this, that's one of the hyper trends you've seen when you're looking at the patient intake forms is the amount of medications and how it's specifically related to dry mouth.
Absolutely.
Would you agree?
And so our doctors can diagnose dry mouth. Mm-hmm. If you have a medication list, now you can't diagnose hypertension because it's outside of the scope of their license. But the medication that they're taking because of the hypertension, that could be causing severe xerostomia. So can you diagnose that? Absolutely. That's part of the oral cavity, which is part of our doctor's licenses.
Right.
So that to me is an amazing trigger. So what if they have a disease that you can't diagnose? To me, that's an opportunity for a great conversation that I can get in with the nurse or the doctor himself. I can tell you that nurses in the medical field want to cooperate and work with us like you wouldn't believe. Mm-hmm. So why are we not accessing the fact that they're there? They just need to know what we need.
Right.
And then I can use them as my referral.
Yeah. And I would probably answer, as I listen to a lot of dentists, it's just uncharted territory for a lot of these dentists. And you need somebody to help you navigate, which is, you've been so great for us, because you need to know what questions to ask, how to set up that type of a conversation. And also too, Laurie, you've helped me with this. You got to be a little resilient in this because it's not like you're going to write a story with codes and people are going to go, that's awesome. Where do I send the check?
Exactly.
You know,
well, you know, and honestly, I actually have had some and I go, wait, why did you pay? I don't know why you paid.
Right.
I mean, and so I am amazed at the way the insurance companies, for instance, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Massachusetts, we can do LANAP at our office and we need no pre-authorization. It's an automatic covered benefit. So I had to call them and say, are you sure? And they're like, yeah, it's a covered benefit. So I did the claim and they paid right away. And I was totally shocked. But they said that this is a Philips employee, Philips Medical Systems. And he said that is part of their contract, that procedure is covered.
Right. And now you can imagine how this is messing with a lot of people's brains right now, because I've heard rumors, I don't know if this is true, but there's one insurance company out there in a particular state that has said they will only pay for one comprehensive oral examination in a patient's lifetime. And I'm like, that's crazy.
Why?
Well, my first thought is it better be a good one, right? But
True.
You're thinking, how bad do I have to fight with these people just to, once in a lifetime? When do we do it? You know, it's crazy. But on the other end, it's amazing how fast, in some cases, medical insurance will pay for something way more comprehensive at full fee.
Absolutely. And I tell people, I said, you know what, if you have no other diagnosis code, why not use screening for dental disorders?
Brilliant.
It is a valid fee. It's a valid diagnosis. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If that's what you mainly can look for and you don't know anything else, you're screening them.
And that's going to be our next show. What a great next show is. Laurie's so good at this, we could actually have her list all of the dental disorders.
Oh, absolutely.
We could 100%. Go right down. And you could create a cheat sheet for us so that we wouldn't even have to know or make this. I mean, you've been through this. You've been to this rodeo.
Well, and if somebody wants, I have an assistant cheat sheet that goes over medications. It goes over kids' hyperplasia, what medications cause hyperplasia. If they want that, they can email me and I'll get that to them as well.
All right, we're doing that. That's our next show. We'll do it on dental disorders. That's so great. Yep. All right, trigger number 5. What is it?
So, case acceptance. So one of the things I can tell you is that the one thing with medical is that you're not going to get a number. You're not going to get an exact number of how much they pay. We at Imagine, we try to say, do the deductible and 50%. Because that means you know that if the insurance codes are already considered, you know they're not an exclusion, then you will have to do the deductible and then 50% of the remaining treatment. So doesn't that make sense? It's a good premise as far as how to present the treatment plan. They still need to know if medical does not pay that other 50% of that remainder, it is their responsibility. But I'll give you for instance, that we had an actual patient walk into our door because the office would not bill medical. So if they walked into our door, they had to walk out of somebody else's door. So was that your door that they walked out of because you just refused to even try?
Yeah. So give us a little simple example to make one up and how I would, the deductible plus 50%. So say for instance, we have a $5,000 treatment plan. Mm-hmm. They have a $3,000 deductible. We're going to take $3,000 and that leaves $2,000. I'm going to take 50% of that $1,000. So the patient pays $4,000. We're going to have that $1,000 hanging out until medical pays. Okay. Now the rule of thumb is if those procedure codes are considered, then they're probably going to pay more than that. Really? But that way your office is not stuck on the line for more than 60 days for that $1,000 only. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? It makes sense. So we don't want your AR to suffer because you're medical billing. There's no reason it should suffer. I can say Dr. Cohen and Dr. Gottlieb had over 100% of collections to productions every year. Yeah, and all the stats, better than I do. Once you get to that 60-day mark, it's working against you.
Well, and I would say that with Imagine, we only go 30 days. We want that claim paid within 30 days. The only reason it would go longer than that would be as if you're just starting out and we're trying to make sure all of your numbers are in, all of your tax ID, your NPI numbers, your facility NPIs are valid and credentialed. That's the only time it's ever taken us longer than that 30-day mark.
That's amazing. That is truly amazing.
Yeah. So one other thing I wanted to mention was we are having a webinar with Henry Schein and Dana Johnson. And you know Dana.
Dana's awesome. Yeah.
She is amazing. But she's going to be working with us on this webinar. And it's going to be December 5th, 11 Mountain Time. And it'll be on our website. So if people keep looking on the website, we're going to have a sign up on the website. So if you want to have more information about basically case acceptance, that's what the whole webinar is going to be about, is case acceptance utilizing medical billing, so that people know how to do a presentation for their fees.
Yeah, absolutely. And this isn't a fad. This isn't something that's just coming and going. This is going to be here to stay for a long, long time, but you will need to know the language at a higher level with every year that passes. So I cannot be more grateful, Laurie. Like, you give so many good things, and I am definitely going to be on that webinar. So can you do us a favor? I know that people are watching this are going to want to know more about how this all works, and some of them are even going to want the breakdown. So keep in mind, some people are listening to this on iTunes, so they don't have the luxury of clicking to links. Tell us how we can get a hold of you.
So you can email me at Laurie, Laurie, at Imagine, IMAGN Solutions, SOLUTIONS.com. The website is imaginesolutions.com, again spelled IMAGN Solutions.com. And we'll be also listing our next quarter 1 and quarter 2 Core CE courses for medical billing for dentistry. So I would love to see you. We've really tried to make sure the fees are low. Probably the lowest you'll ever get, but I can say that it's not necessarily the fees, it's that we are there for you. And like I told you earlier, Kurt, if you're not successful, we have not done our job. And we hold that very high in our own personal lives. We desperately want you to be successful, and we will work with you to do so.
Well, I can say this about you because everybody that we send you to loves you, and they're like, she's amazing. So you're doing your job. So, Laurie, thank you so much for being on. Stick around while we say goodbye to everybody else.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure. We're going to have you back, and we are going to do I have so many other topics I want to cover with you. Again, this is just great stuff. So thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed today, which I know you did, just do us a favor, hit the share button, share them with your friends, and then any other shows or topics that you would love to hear from Laurie, just send them to us, and I'll get her back, and we'll ask her some of the tough questions and go through some of the tough scenarios, help you guys through this. So any other suggestions you want to see with other guests, keep sending them to us. And until we see you next time, keep watching the Best Practices Show. You guys have a great rest of your day.